Hello students, welcome to the YouTube channel of Invisible Hand. We are starting a series of solving 10-year UGC NET papers from 2015 to 2025 in a manner that questions are solved topic-wise. इस सीरीज का आपको सबसे बड़ा फायदा ये रहेगा कि जब भी आप कोई टॉपिक पढ़ें तो साथ ही उसके सवाल अगर आप सॉल्व कर लेते हैं तो इसके दो तरफा फायदे हैं। पहला फायदा ये है कि आपको पता है कि जो टॉपिक आपने पढ़ा है उसमें किस तरह के सवाल आ रहे हैं, और दूसरी बात आपकी प्रिपरेशन में गैप्स कहाँ हैं। तो अगर आप टॉपिक पढ़ते हैं साथ में उसके क्वेश्चन सॉल्व कर लेते हैं तो आपकी प्रिपरेशन एक तरीके से फुल प्रूफ हो जाती है। इस सीरीज में सबसे पहला टॉपिक जो हम डील करेंगे वो माइक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स से कंज्यूमर थ्योरी का डिमांड टॉपिक होगा। सबसे पहला क्वेश्चन अगर आप देखें तो विच अमंग्स द फॉलोइंग इज अ करेक्ट डिस्क्रिप्शन ऑफ इनवर्स डिमांड फंक्शन। तो हम नॉर्मली जो हमारी अंडरस्टैंडिंग है डिमांड फंक्शन की वो कहती है दैट क्वांटिटी डिमांडेड इज अ फंक्शन ऑफ प्राइस गिवन दैट ऑल अदर फैक्टर्स आर कांस्टेंट। Other factors which affect the quantity demanded of a good are constant. However, the inverse demand function is expressed in this manner, which means that price is a function of quantity demanded. यहाँ पे quantity आपकी dependent independent variable है और price आपका dependent variable है। अगर यही डेफिनेशन अगर आप किताब से देखें तो द इनवर्स डिमांड फंक्शन इज द डिमांड फंक्शन व्यूइंग प्राइस एज अ फंक्शन ऑफ क्वांटिटी। That is, for each level of demand for good one, the inverse demand function measures what the price of good one would have to be in order for the consumer to choose that level of consumption. So basically, the inverse demand function looks at the relationship between the price and quantity just differently than what this relationship expresses. So if you look at the curve of inverse demand function, it is also downward sloping like your normal demand function because it expresses the same relationship just in a different manner. Moving on to the next question. The next question is the price elasticity of demand for a good with the demand function Q is equal to Kp raised to the power R. तो इलास्टिसिटी ऑफ डिमांड हमसे पूछ रहा है क्वेश्चन, और हमें पता है कि इलास्टिसिटी ऑफ डिमांड क्या होता है। इलास्टिसिटी ऑफ डिमांड इज डिफाइंड एज द परसेंटेज चेंज इन क्वांटिटी डिमांडेड एज अ रिजल्ट ऑफ 1 यूनिट चेंज इन प्राइस। इफ यू एक्सप्रेस इट in mathematically, this is percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in price. इसका फॉर्मूला है, अगर अब ये फॉर्मूला यूज करके अगर हम अब इसको सॉल्व करना चाहें इस क्वेश्चन को, अगर इलास्टिसिटी ऑफ डिमांड, तो सबसे पहले हम डिफरेंशिएट करेंगे Q को विद रिस्पेक्ट टू प्राइस। आप रूल्स ऑफ डिफरेंशिएशन जो हैं थोड़ा रिवाइज कर लें बिकॉज थोड़ा आसान रहेगा ये सॉल्व करने में। नाउ पुटिंग दीज वैल्यूज इनटू द फॉर्मूला, elasticity of demand is equal to KR PR minus 1 into price, putting the value of Q here, KRP, KP raised to the power R. K gets cancelled, R stays, PR minus 1, रूल्स ऑफ एक्सपोनेंट्स क्या कहते हैं कि अगर बेस सेम है तो पावर्स ऐड हो जाती हैं। तो ये आपका P raised to the power R upon P raised to the power R. Hence, elasticity of demand in given question is R. Therefore, your correct option is option number B. Moving on to the next question. The next question says, in the context of a straight line demand curve touching both the axes, which one of the following is correct? The demand is elastic below the midpoint, above the midpoint, at the midpoint, or throughout the length of the demand curve. So this question tests your understanding of the graphical method of elasticity of demand. So you know that along a straight line demand curve, elasticity of demand is infinite at this point. Elasticity of demand is 0, and at exactly midpoint elasticity of demand is equal to 1, which means that as you move downward along a demand curve, the elasticity of demand reduces. So looking at the options once again, the options are that the demand is elastic. When it is saying the demand is elastic, it means elasticity of demand is greater than 1. Elasticity of demand is greater than 1 below the midpoint. As you can look in the diagram also, below the midpoint it is inelastic. Above the midpoint it's elastic. At the midpoint, elasticity of demand is equal to 1. Throughout the length of the demand curve, no, this option is incorrect. Therefore, the correct answer to the question is point number B. This question also tests your understanding of the concept mentioned above. For a linear demand curve, which one of the following is true? Elasticity of demand is unity at all points. Is it unity at all points? No. Elasticity of demand is equal to unity at midpoint only. Elasticity of demand is constant at all points? No. Elasticity of demand is not constant at all points as it changes from infinity to 0. This option is also incorrect. Elasticity of demand increases as one slides down the demand curve. Do we see that? No. Elasticity of demand actually decreases as one slides down the demand curve. And the last option is elasticity declines as one slides down the demand curve. This option is correct. So we have seen 2 questions from the topic of graphical method. Moving on to the next question. Now this is an interesting question since it is a bit different. This question also tests your understanding of the graphical method only. So one way of doing the graphical method is that you divide the lower segment by the upper segment in order to find the elasticity of demand. In this question, at point R and at point S, you have to compare the elasticities. So at point R, OP upon PA, and at point S, OP upon PC. Since we know, since PA is less than PC, so what happens is at lower, when the numerator is less, this becomes greater. As a result, elasticity of demand at point R is greater than elasticity of demand at point S. Now looking at the options, the price elasticity of demand at point R and S is equal? No. At point R is greater than that of point S? Yes. At point R is less than at point S? No. At point R and S is infinity. Therefore, the correct option is point number B. You can read this by pausing the video for a moment. In this particular question, the line is drawn from the y-axis, but a question can also be asked for you to compare when the line is drawn from the x-axis. So, as a rule of thumb, in this case, if you remember, if you want to maintain a rule of thumb, in this case, if this is point A, and this is point B. Similarly, this is point A, this is point B. Elasticity of demand at A will be greater than elasticity of demand at point B. In this case, elasticity of demand at point A will be less than elasticity of demand at point B. If you want to read the explanation is given here. You can go through it once. But a question like this can also be asked in the exam to test your understanding of the topic. Moving on to the next question. Given the demand function Q is equal to 20 by P, where symbols have their usual meaning, at which price elasticity of demand would be equal to unity. So what it is asking कि elasticity of demand आपका unity कब होगा? तो फॉर्मूला आपको पता है elasticity of demand का. सबसे पहले let's differentiate quantity with respect to prices. This 20 comes here, this becomes minus 1 by P square. This is your delta Q by delta P. Putting it into the formula, 1 is equal to minus 20 upon P square into price divided by quantity, 20 by P. This P goes up, this becomes P square. P square gets cancelled, 20 gets cancelled, which means that at each point the elasticity of demand will be equal to 1, which means whatever the value of P is, elasticity of demand is equal to 1 at all points. Now, how did we, if you want to test, let's take for example, at price equal to 10. When price is 10, quantity is 2. Now, if you put it into the formula, delta Q by delta P becomes minus 20 upon P square कितना हुआ 100. ये gets cancelled. This is 1 by 5. Elasticity of demand is equal to 1 by 5 into quantity to price 10. Hence, elasticity of demand is equal to 1. You can also check this for 20 as well as 10. Your correct option is all of the above. The next question is, cross elasticity of demand for metro rides is 0.8 and total ridership per day is 1.5 lakhs. If price of bus rides rise by 5%, the change in total metro rides will be. So here you are asked to find the cross elasticity of demand. What is the meaning of cross elasticity of demand? For example, if you have two goods, X and Y, so cross elasticity of demand measures how the change in the price of one good affects the quantity of the other good. So if you write the formula of cross elasticity of demand is percentage change in quantity of X divided by percentage change in price of Y. Therefore, percentage change delta Q by X is E by X into delta P by Y. Remember that these values are in percentages. Here the values are, if you want to find how the metro rides will change, delta Q by X is your EXY is given to be 0.8 into 5. This becomes, so your delta Q by X becomes 4%. So the change in metro rides will be 4%. But it is asking the change in total metro rides. You have the percentage change now. You have to calculate the total change. So total change in metro rides will be 4% of 1.5 lakhs. This comes out to be 6,000. Hence, the correct answer is 6,000. Question number 8 is that the demand function for a good is given by QA is equal to 100 minus P, 2PA plus 0.2Y plus 0.3 PB. Find the cross price elasticities of demand at these given values. So the first step is that you should know the formula of cross price elasticity of demand. Cross price elasticity of demand is so when you look at the formula, you know what values do you have to now find. First, let's put the values in quantity of A. When you solve it, the value will be 191. Moving on, we need to find delta QA with respect to delta PB. So if you see the equation all of these will act as constant and the value of this will be 0.3. Now putting the values you have in the above equation, you get elasticity of AB is 0.3 into price of B. क्या है price of B? 10 upon 191. This comes 3 divided by 191 and which is approximately equal to 0.0157. Now you look at the options. The closest value to this is 0.016. Therefore, this is the correct answer. You can read this for understanding how we got this formula. Questions on cross elasticity of demand are very often asked in the exam. The next question is, if sales tax on a commodity is raised but the revenue earned through its sale decreased sharply, which one of the following statement about the nature of the commodity would be correct? So this question tests your understanding of the total revenue method. What is happening in this case, that when the sales tax on a commodity is raised, which means the price of the good will go up, but the revenue earned through its sale, the total revenue which is earned through its sale, declines. Therefore, what is the price elasticity of demand of the good? So I have written here briefly what is the relationship. If we go through it once, if price increases and total revenue decreases, which means that these are moving in the opposite directions, then elasticity of demand is greater than 1. When price increases or decreases but total revenue remains constant, in this case elasticity of demand is equal to 1. And when price increases or decreases and total revenue increases when price increases, or if total revenue decreases when price decreases, in this case elasticity of demand is less than 1. Therefore, in this particular case, when price increases, total revenue decreases, the movement is in opposite direction. Therefore, price elasticity of demand for this good is greater than 1. Therefore, option C is the correct answer. Moving on to the next question. This is a match list 1 with list 2 question. So let's see the option. Income elasticity coefficient exceeds unity. The income elasticity tells you that as the income of a consumer changes, what are the how does the quantity change? So if there is 1 unit change in the income of a consumer, but the quantity demanded of the good changes by more than 1 unit. In this case, the income elasticity is greater than 1. This usually happens in the case of luxurious commodities. Therefore, the first option is luxurious commodities. The second option is positive cross price elasticity coefficient. Positive cross elasticity coefficient happens in the case of substitute goods. See here also, the understanding of cross price elasticity of demand will help you to get to the answer. The third option is downward sloping price consumption curve. Downward sloping price consumption curve reflects relatively elastic demand. We will also deal with the topic of price effect and price consumption curve differently, where we'll explain this in greater detail. The fourth option is negative income effect. So negative income effect is observed in the case of inferior goods. You can match the following options with these and find out what the correct answer is. The next question is Slutsky equation deals with decomposition of. This is a very easy and straightforward question, but what it is testing your understanding, it's testing your understanding of the price effect. So price effect can be decomposed into the substitution effect and the income effect. So what Slutsky did is he decomposed this price effect into substitution effect and income effect. The correct answer is option A. This is also a very similar question. Question number 12. It was asked in July 2016. Slutsky equation explains the split between price, income, and substitution. effect. This is just a brief explanation of the Slutsky effect. This explains your substitution effect, this explains your income effect, and the total price effect. This is the Slutsky equation. Go through it once because it can be asked in the exam. The derivation might not be asked, but you should be familiar with what the formula and what the equation is. Moving on to question number 13. Question number 13 says that for certain goods, the expenditure by the consumer decreases. So this is true because in the case of inferior goods, when income rises, the consumer reduces spending on these goods and shifts to superior substitutes. So the assertion is true. The reason is that for such goods, the income elasticity of demand is high. This is false, as income elasticity of demand for these goods is negative. So the correct option is that A is true but R is false. Moving on to question number 14. Question number 14 says that for the demand function D is equal to dP and supply function S is equal to SP, the excess demand brings about the market equilibrium in which one of the following conditions. So it is asking that in the case of market equilibrium, what is the excess demand? So we know that excess demand is the difference of demand and supply. If I have to represent this, so if this is my supply curve and this is my demand curve. So this difference, this will represent your excess demand. So at Q1, if you see, there exists excess demand. As the consumer moves towards equilibrium, the excess demand keeps on falling. So the correct answer is that DE by EP, this should be less than 0 because as the consumer moves towards equilibrium, the excess demand falls. Hence, this is the correct answer. Thank you so much for watching this video. We'll be coming back with more such topics for you to help you strengthen your preparation. In case of any doubts, please drop a comment below. We'll try to respond. Thank you.